Okay, let's think about this. In a world where we're literally drowning in movies and TV shows, who's really in charge of the stories we see? Is it some visionary director? Is it a studio just crunching numbers? Or, and this is the interesting part, is it us? Today, we're going to dive deep into what makes this modern storytelling machine tick. And look, we can't even start this conversation without bringing in the legend himself, Martin Scorsese. He wrote this absolutely blistering critique, basically laying out the central conflict of our entire entertainment era. He argued that in this mad dash for streaming content, we're losing something really essential.
So, what Scorsese's talking about really boils down to this simple but super powerful conflict. On one side, you've got art, something with real vision, carefully crafted and shared. But on the other side, you've got content. Just stuff. A product that's devalued, spat out by a system, and pushed on you by an algorithm. That right there, that's the battleground we're stepping onto today.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the creator's vision. Then we'll tackle the industry's massive content machine. And finally, we'll get to the real wild card, the audience. You'll see how all these pieces are locked in this really fascinating dance. So let's kick things off with the creator. And not just any creator, but the auteur, right? The artist who is the total opposite of that endless content factory. They see their work not as the next big franchise, but as a finished, personal statement.
And who's the poster child for this? It's got to be Quentin Tarantino. For years, he's been saying it loud and clear. 10 films, and that's it. He's done. And you got to understand, this isn't just some random number. It's his whole philosophy. It's him deliberately putting a full stop, a definitive period at the end of his career.
See, Tarantino looks at all his movies as one big connected story. He even described them as train boxcars connected to each other. So for him, his 9th movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that was the big climax, the showstopper. And that means his 10th film is going to be more like an epilogue. The key takeaway for him is that a body of work needs a beginning, a middle, and crucially, an end.
Okay, so now let's flip the coin. We're going from that individual creator's finite vision straight into the belly of the beast, the industrial machine that's built for infinite production. And let me tell you, that machine is starting to creak and groan.
And you've definitely heard this term thrown around, superhero fatigue. It's the perfect way to describe what happens when a whole genre becomes more about quantity than quality. It's that feeling of just being totally overloaded, right? Of seeing the same stuff over and over until you just kind of stop caring. And this fatigue, it shows up in some really specific ways. It's that moment when watching the next big blockbuster starts to feel, like homework. Suddenly, you have to keep up with 3 different TV shows and a movie from 2 years ago just to follow the plot. What used to be a special event is now just a chore. But hey, this isn't just a superhero problem. Let's take a look at another example of how this content machine works. We're going to look at the recent war drama, Border 2. This thing is a textbook case of a big, nostalgia-fueled piece of content that's designed for massive, massive appeal. And if you look at the reviews, they paint a really clear picture. The movie is sincere, it's pretty entertaining, and it for sure delivers on the nostalgia with some great performances. But, and this is a big but, look at the weaknesses. Repetitive story beats, kind of average action scenes, and a runtime that is just excessively long. It gives the audience exactly what it promises, but it's leaning hard on a familiar formula. In Scorsese's words, it's not art that challenges you, it's content that just keeps you satisfied. But wait a second. This isn't just a two-way street between the artists and the studios. Oh no, there is a third and maybe the most powerful player in this game, the audience. And believe me, they are not just sitting back and passively watching anymore. Get this. This is a Reddit post from before Season 2 of House of the Dragon even came out. And it lays out the entire season's plot with scary accuracy, all based on the books. This isn't just a wild guess. It's a literal roadmap. The fans are so plugged in, they're basically acting as predictive co-authors. And what's wild is that the studios are now watching them, making the audience a part of the machine itself. It's a crazy feedback loop. And the audience's power, it goes way, way deeper than just predicting plots. They're also becoming the chief analysts, deconstructing the most complex characters and stories with insights that honestly could be in an academic journal. Just listen to this line from a Reddit analysis of Walter White from Breaking Bad. This isn't about what happens next. This is about the why. This one sentence just cuts right to the psychological heart of one of the greatest TV characters ever created.
It shows you that people are hungry for meaning, not just a bunch of plot points. This whole analysis basically argues that Walter White's entire transformation was driven by this deep, lifelong fear of being forgotten, of being nothing. He had this one real memory of his own father as just a withered husk, and he was terrified of becoming that. So that whole Heisenberg persona, it wasn't just ego. It was a desperate move to build an identity that couldn't be erased. The audience isn't just watching anymore. They're basically performing psychological forensics on these stories. Okay, so let's pull all these threads together. We've got these three powerful forces: the creator with their singular vision, the industry churning out never-ending content, and the audience, who are now co-writing and deconstructing everything they see. So on one hand, you have the creator, like a Tarantino, who wants to tell a complete story and then, walk away. Then you have the industry, which wants that story to go on forever, which can lead to that fatigue we talked about. And then you've got the audience, who have become so smart they can predict the industry's next move and pull out deeper meaning than maybe was even intended in the first place. And that leaves us with one last big question. In this modern storytelling machine, where art, content, and the audience all collide, who is really telling the story? Is it the person who creates it, the company that funds it, or is it us, the people who watch it and give it meaning? That's definitely something to chew on the next time you press play.